Hello, and welcome to the Canadian Science Policy Conference. My name is Naomi Schumann, and I'm chair of the program committee and a senior volunteer with the Canadian Science Policy Centre, to do an interview with Dr. Stephanie Michaud, who is president and CEO of BioCanRx, Canada's immunotherapy network. Over your tenure leading BioCanRx, how has the field of immunotherapy advanced?
So the field of immunotherapy is accelerating in terms of advancement every day. Since we started in 2015, we have seen the approval, for example, of CAR-Ts. We have seen products like Merck's Keytruda, which is a PD-1 inhibitor, checkpoint inhibitor, become mainstream, really start to drive down deaths in lung cancer, have a revolutionary impact in the context of melanoma. We're seeing an explosion in the number of clinical trials that are based on novel immunotherapies. So there's a real explosion of immunotherapy research right across the world. I would say immunotherapy really is being defined right now as the fourth pillar of cancer care. And I think the hope is that it will eclipse a number of other treatments because it will be able to treat individuals more effectively than what we have currently and leave behind less damage, for example, when compared to immunotherapy. And this is not to say that immunotherapy does not come with its own risks. It does. But what we're seeing in terms of results and that are being replicated around the world are truly astonishing. So it's so critically important to be able to carry out this kind of research, to be able to develop this kind of research, have the domestic capacity to be able to do this, run our own clinical trials so that we can be able to bring these innovations. And again, right, it is because the field is advancing so rapidly to be able to bring those innovations to Canadian cancer patients right here in Canada much more quickly rather than wait for the development to take place off of our shores and then gradually make it to Canada when the drug companies seek approval, and that's many, many years down the line. So massive, massive, massive strides.
And Canadian scientists have been instrumental in some of these advancements?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. So our scientific director at BioCanRx is Dr. John Bell, who is an internationally renowned virologist in the field of cancer immunotherapy. John has made pivotal discoveries with respect to the use of oncolytic viruses for the treatment of cancer and using them in combination with other products. And what he has been able to do is using modified viruses that don't cause infection, that are really targeted for cancer cells only. They only touch the cancer cells and only affect the cancer cells and do not affect normal cells in any way. And one of the issues that we have that exists, when we're talking about cancer, when we're talking about immunotherapy, it does not work for everybody. So we have had absolutely phenomenal results in the field, and we've seen this over decades, where there are anecdotes peppered all over the world of individuals, getting an infectious illness, and this was over 100 years ago. Where patients that had cancer developed a flu or came down with another kind of infection, all of a sudden were cured of their cancer. And this is how the field of immunotherapy, came to be. People started to connect those dots. We've advanced quite a bit since then. But what we're trying to do in BioCanRx and what other researchers are trying to do is to make immunotherapies more applicable to more people. And Dr. John Bell has actually been a pioneer in this field, using oncolytic viruses and combining them with other immunotherapies. So what immunotherapies are able to do is to mobilize the immune system to fight a cancer, and combining them with other types of products that are also immunotherapies is really to send up the flare to the immune system to say, the cancer is right here, come. and attack and fight this cancer and make this person better. So
PMH used to use the slogan, cure cancer in our lifetime. Do you think that immunotherapy will help us realize that goal? Do you think it's possible that as the research advances, we'll be able to cure some types of cancers? And what types of cancers would you say is immunotherapy most effective for?
So what we have seen in the past decades, perhaps even the past 20 years, but I'll start with the past decade, because this is when the first CAR Ts, chimeric antigen receptor T cell, which are personalized medicines, which is where a T cell is taken from a patient, and these are patients typically with blood cancers like leukemias or lymphomas, and they're genetically modified, they're expanded, so they're grown up and then injected back into the patient. The US pioneer for this technology is Dr. Carl June out of Philadelphia. He started working on these in the early aughts and started treating patients in about 2010, 2011 approximately. Some of those patients now are 10 years out, and so the word cure is being used with respect to certain types of cancers, specifically blood cancers. What we've seen in melanoma, for example, when we're using a product like Keytruda, which is a checkpoint inhibitor, these are individuals with metastatic disease who have been treated, and incredible results have been achieved, and these individuals have their cancers in remission. We hope that these will be persistent cures, but certainly the word cure is being used a lot more frequently, and there's a real hope and a real basis to say that. I would say, I certainly hope so, that in certain indications, in certain cancers, we'll be able to say we have something for that, and the patient will get better.
Great. Mm-hmm. Happy to hear about these advancements. So what do you think has been the most significant contribution BioCanRx has made to the research and innovation landscape to date?
I think there have been a few, and I'd like to touch on two in particular. I think where BioCanRx has been highly relevant to the immunotherapy research landscape in Canada has been in the area of translational research. Translational research is an area that is not funded in Canada. It's very, very difficult to do. We often use the terminology, the valley of death, just to illustrate it's a challenging part of the research process to go through, right, to traverse. I've sometimes used the term canyon in Canada because it's even more difficult for us because we don't fund that part of research, and there are a number of reasons why we don't do that. What we've done at BioCanRx is design programs that specifically bridge that gap. And so as a result, by being able to assemble expertise, by linking it to biomanufacturing, great science, and we have great science in Canada, phenomenal clinicians, we're able to advance immunotherapies very quickly, which is our mission of accelerating to the clinic for the benefit of patients. The other profound impact that BioCanRx has had on the landscape is with respect to biomanufacturing, and so in particular CAR T. Our researchers, and it was very much born out of frustration, our researchers at our annual conference had heard a phenomenal talk about all of the great research that was taking place in the United States, and walked out of the talk a little bit deflated, and this was in 2016. And ask themselves, why can't we do this here? Why can't we make CAR Ts here? Because sure, we can think up about what a new CAR T could look like. We have no way of making it. We have no way of testing it into patients. And so they sat down and, at the bar at the hotel, over a beer, and mapped it out. Like on a napkin, this is what we're going to do, because we had all of the different pieces together. What we needed to be able to do is to link them together. And that's what we did. So we had plasmid manufacturing out in Vancouver with Dr. Rob Holt. We had GMP viral vector manufacturing with Dr. Bell at the OHRI, Ottawa Hospital Research Institute, and then we set up the manufacturing of the CAR T itself in Victoria with Dr. Brad Nelson. And so we worked on this for 2 years to establish a process from which we could approach Health Canada to say, we're able to make these, we're so that we can administer them into patients. And it took us 2 years and a few $1 million, but that kind of glue money is not money that we can just go and get at a granting agency. Although we had a lot of partners, for example, the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research, BC Cancer Agency, who saw the value of what it is that we were trying to do and invested in this and made it happen. And so we're looking to spread out that model by establishing sites to manufacture in Winnipeg, in Toronto, in Calgary, in a number of other spots, in addition to keeping the site in Victoria. So because now we have this manufacturing platform, what's happening is the research is happening. New CAR Ts are being designed, and so they're utilizing this platform in order to start new clinical trials. And so we have 2 brand new CAR Ts that are going to be tested in individuals that don't, have a different type of protein sticking out on top of their cancer, so that we can try to help them as well.
So funding for the Network Centers of Excellence is being transitioned to the New Frontiers Research Fund. What do you want people to remember from the legacy of the Network Centers of Excellence?
So we actually had a panel on this here at the CSPC this year about, everything old is new again was the title with respect to the NCE program, really focusing in on, the lessons learned, because the program has been around for 30 years. It's being sunsetted, and the funding is transferred to the NFREF, the New Frontiers in Research Fund. NCEs are not eligible to apply to that fund, unfortunately. But the point of our panel was to share the lessons. What we spoke of is it's critically important to focus on accountability for those research dollars that are being invested. And so the importance of the peer review, the selection, and really looking to see about the kind of impact the research will have directly on Canadians, and ensuring that those that are receiving very large grants are assessed on an annual basis. The importance of governance, the importance of having a mission or a moonshot, so that we can get alignment of all of the individuals that are participating on a research program, project, so that we can deliver greater value for Canadians. And lastly, it was really to focus on defining what the value will be for the Canadian taxpayer, which of course is Canadian taxpayer money that we're using when we're carrying out all of this research. So it's critically important to be able to define what is that unique value proposition. The NCE program, and I've been told this by so many folks that have gotten involved into the program, really had boiled down what were the critical ingredients to moonshot or mission-oriented programming, which is research that has research at its core, is research excellence, which is to combine it with training, have the network and the different partners in place, have a knowledge translation plan or a commercialization plan, and last but not least, good governance and management, right? To be able to report back, to seek out those impacts, and to be accountable to the mission of what it is you said you were going to do. And being able to, when projects aren't working, to be able to redirect money so that you can reinvest it in something else, so that you can move forward and achieve your mission.
Sounds like it was a great discussion.
It was.
So thank you for your continued involvement with CSPC. What do you think is the benefit and value of participating in CSPC?
So I've been a long-time attendee of the CSPC. I've organized quite a few panels that have been selected for the CSPC. I think the being able to bring together different groups to discuss, of course, policy issues, to hear about what is on the horizon with respect to developments in the science policy space. And what's really important to me, though, is the networking. There are individuals that I only see once a year that I'm really, really happy to see, but I see them here. And so as much as I love the discussions that are taking place in the rooms, I love the discussions that are taking place in the hallways as well. So it's wonderful to catch up with colleagues. And I think the greatest value to me is the convener role that the CSPC plays. And so the fact that they're able to, that the CSPC is able to attract so many different sectors, not-for-profits, academia, government, all in one place for a few days to have some real discussions about where we're headed with respect to science investments in Canada is absolutely invaluable. And so I love being here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stephanie Michaud, for participating in our interview series. I really enjoyed my conversation with you, and I hope our viewers check out some of the other interviews that are part of this series. Thank you.
Thank you.